Hello guys, welcome to this video. In this class we'll discuss a very important topic if you're taking any test. It could be the SAT test, it could be IELTS, it could be TOEFL, it could be GCSE, whatever. It could be JAM, it could be WAEC, whatever English language test you're taking. If you do not have a good grasp of subject-verb agreement, the chances of doing well is very low. It's very low. Now, there are some surface level rules for subject verb agreement that most people are aware of, and there are some rules that people are not aware of. And the hope is that you use the knowledge you get from this video and you practice it. You try to stay aware of it when you write, when you speak, and when you answer questions during the exam. Now, so let's begin. Subject verb agreement. Now, in some textbooks, this is called Concord. So you may not find it as subject verb agreement. In some textbooks, it's just called Concord. Now, in the English language, we have the simple grammatical rule that the verb must always agree in terms of number and person with the subject. The verb must always agree in the sense that if the subject takes a specific form, by subject we mean noun or pronoun. Subject here just means noun or pronoun. Excuse me. So yeah, noun or pronouns, and then the subject must always agree with the verb. That's why it's simply called subject verb agreement. Now, what this means is that the subject, if it is singular, must take a singular verb. So you see, it agrees. Singular subject, singular verb. Then plural subject, plural verb. It's basic. This is something we all learned when we were probably in high school or elementary school or wherever we learned it. But it's something everybody knows already. These are some examples. The boy runs quickly. So we have a singular subject, the boy, one boy, and a singular verb, runs. Now, just in case you're not aware, a plural verb always takes the S suffix. And then the plural verb does not take an S. So we have the boy runs quickly and the boys run quickly. So the boys being plural and run being also plural. So you must be aware of this basic rule. The subject must agree with the verb in terms of person and number. This is the simplest thing you should always remember. Now, when you see sentences, they come in different forms. And because they come in different forms and structure, it becomes a bit difficult to stick to the existing rule of subject agreeing with verb in terms of person and number. So there are some rules that have been laid out that you should always remember. And if you remember them, you will be grammatically correct all the time in terms of subject-verb agreement. So we'll take a look at about 20 or more rules. And hopefully the video is not too long at the end of the day. Rules of subject-verb agreement. Now the first one, a popular one, when two subjects are joined by and, remember, and is a coordinating conjunction. It's a conjunction. So when you have two subjects joined by and, the verb has to be plural. So we have my friend and his mother are in town. The singular form would have been is, but because we have my friend and his mother joined with the conjunction and, then you know it has to be are in town. Normally it would have been my friend is in town, his mother is in town. But when you join two of them together, you have my friend and his mother are in town. The same here, the teacher and the students work together on the project. If it was just the teacher, it would have been works on the project. The teacher works on the project. The students is plural, so it will be work. But when you have the teacher and the students, it becomes work because remember what I said earlier. The plural verb does not take an S, but the singular verb takes an S. And in this case, because we have two or more people, it has, which indicates plurality, then automatically we have a plural verb, work. Now, people make errors like my friend and his mother is in town. This is wrong. It is my friend and his mother are in town because we have two separate individuals being joined with the conjunction and. So both of them are in town. Now, an easy way to be sure is, can you replace the subjects with the pronoun they? If you can, then with the pronoun they or we. They or we. Not sure why the pen is misbehaving, but let's move on. Alright, so if you could say they are in town, then obviously it's correct. So you must be careful when picking. So now, if the two nouns joined by and refers to the same person, then it's a different thing entirely, and also that's what we'll discuss in the next rule. The next rule is this. When two singular nouns joined by and refer to the same person or thing, then the verb is singular. Why? Because it's still referring to the same person. When and connects two nouns that identify one person, thing, or idea, a singular verb is used. Now, you may wonder, how do we know if it's a singular noun? Or how do we know when the two nouns refer to the same person? It's simple. When the article the only appears before the first noun and it does not appear before the second noun, then you know it's referring to the same person. If you see in this case, for instance, if I say the captain and the coach, then you know it's two different people. But because we have just the before captain, then you know it's one person. The captain and coach. So the captain is also the coach. So the captain and coach of the team has been sacked. If it was the captain and the coach, it would have been sacked. Why? Because the captain and the coach are two different people. But when there is no the before coach, then you know it's one person. Look at this. Bread and butter is my favorite breakfast. In this case, bread and butter are considered as one meal. It is just one breakfast. So it is. So a reminder, if the nouns refer to two different people or things, each must take its own article and the verb becomes plural, which is what we treated as rule 1. Like here we see the teacher and the students. You see, we have the the for both nouns because they are separate people. All right. So you see the captain and the coach. Because of the D here, it becomes have been sacked. So don't make the error of saying the captain and coach of the team have been sacked. This is wrong because we don't have the here. We don't have the before coach. So it's the captain and coach of the team has been sacked because it's the same person. Okay? Now, rule 3, indefinite pronouns such as everyone, someone, anyone, nobody, and so on are always singular. Why? Because they are indefinite pronouns. When the pronoun refers to an indefinite or unspecified person or thing, when it's like when everyone is not referring to a specific person, when you have words like each, everyone, somebody, anybody, anyone, nobody, because it's not referring to a specific person or a specific thing, it is considered singular in the English language. Therefore, they always take a singular verb, even though they may refer to many people in meaning. Please forgive this, it's a typographical error. Examples: everyone is invited to the ceremony. Everyone is invited. Why? Because everyone is an indefinite pronoun and it is regarded as singular. The same here, somebody has left his umbrella here. You see, has left his umbrella here. Each of the players works hard. Don't be misled into thinking because of you have of the players and player here as s, then it should be work. No, it is each. And because you have each here, which is an indefinite pronoun, it takes a singular verb, works. I will keep reminding you, in the English language, when it takes an s, it is singular for a verb, and when the verb does not take an s, it is plural. Exception: the words few, many, several, both, all, and some may take plural verbs depending on their reference. Remember, we said indefinite pronouns are always considered to be singular, but there are exceptions of few, many, several, both, all, and some. Always remember this. These ones can be treated as singular or plural depending on what they are referring to. We'll treat this under rules 9 and 10. Let's not jump the gun. I'm only saying that there are exceptions to this rule number 3. Alright, let's move on. The next one is rule 4. When a percentage or part of something is mentioned with a plural meaning, use a plural verb. What does that mean? When the percentage of fraction refers to a plural noun, the verb should be plural. Conversely, if it refers to a singular or uncountable noun, the verb is singular. For instance, 40% of the students are absent. Why is it are? Because the noun is plural. 40% of many people are absent. As long as you can count the noun and it is in a case plurality, it is plural. 40%. That's when dealing with percentage or fraction. Look at this one. 70% of the cake. You see, we still have percent here, a percentage, but because the cake is singular, then the verb has to be singular as well. So take note of the difference. When the noun is plural for when referring to the percentage or part of something, then the verb is plural. When the noun is singular, the verb is singular. Okay? So this is for percentage of fraction. Rule 5. When subjects joined by either or neither nor are of different persons or numbers, the verb agrees with the subject nearest to it. Let's explain that. Now, in a sentence, when you have either or, it means you're going to have two subjects or two objects. Now, the verb agrees with the subject that is closest to it. For instance, in this expression, neither you nor your dogs know how to behave. The verb know agrees with the noun closest to it, dogs. It doesn't say because you have you and your dogs in the same sentence that then it should be necessarily be plural. It agrees with the number of the nearest number or person of the nearest subject or the nearest noun to it. So here it is no because dogs is plural. Look at this one. Either the teacher or the student has made a mistake. Now this is has because the student is singular, so there has to be a singular verb. So I will say that again. When you have either or neither nor, the verb agrees with the closest subject or the closest noun to it, usually a subject. Look at this. Neither the boys nor the girl was punished. You see, was, not were. Where would be correct if the closest to it was plural. If it was girls, then it would be were. But because it's not girls, it is girl, then it is was. Okay? So note, when either or neither is used as a pronoun without other nouns, it is always singular. For instance, either of the books is fine. Not either or neither nor. When either is used as a pronoun on its own without the or, then it is always considered to be singular. Either of the books is fine. Neither of the answers is correct. So please take note of this and don't fall into the trap of applying either or, the rule for either or, to the rule for just either of. Okay? So if I say neither of the movies was interesting, it's not where it was. Now, rule number 6. This one is very dicey, very tricky, and people tend to struggle with it, especially during tests. It's when dealing with connectives or appositives, such as along with, together with, as well, along with, together with, as well as, or accompanied by. When you have connectives or appositives, joining two nouns, the verb agrees with the first subject. See, this is the reverse of either or. When you have appositives joining two nouns, the verb agrees with the first subject and not the one closest to it. So please remember them: along with, together with, as well as, in addition to, or accompanied by. When you have appositives like this or connectives, the verb has to agree with the first subject. Along with may be used or as well as may be used in place of and. It doesn't mean that the rule that applies to and applies to as well as. The verb only agrees with the first subject when an appositive is used. Mr. Ram, accompanied by his wife, Sita, and his brother, was banished to the forest. Mr. Ram, accompanied by his wife Sita and his brother, was banished. Why is it was and not where when we're referring to both Mr. Ram and his wife, or Mr. Ram, his wife, and his brother? It's because when you have an appositive connecting subjects, the verb agrees with just the first subject, Mr. Ram, and Mr. Ram is one person. So it's Mr. Ram was banished to the forest. He was accompanied by his wife and his brother, but he was the one banished to the forest. Okay, look at this. The teacher, as well as the students, is present at the seminar. It is because it agrees with just the teacher, as well as is an appositive. Assuming this was and, not as well as, it would have been the teacher and the students are present. But because we know it is as well as, not and, then we say is. Okay? And the reason for that is whatever comes after this accompanied by is treated as a modifier and not like a compound subject. Compound subject means when you join two things with a coordinating conjunction, when you join two subjects with a coordinating conjunction. For instance, the boy and the girl are here. The boy and the girl there is a compound subject. So in this case, it is not compound subject. From accompanied to his brother is considered a modifier. So this is M H Q. Mr. being the modifier, Ram being the head word, and accompanied by his wife and his brother being the qualifier. Right? So all they do is add extra information to the main subject, but do not change its number. Look at this. The teacher as well as the students are present. This is wrong because the verb has to agree with the first subject, the teacher. Okay? Let's go on. Number 7, rule 7. A number of takes a plural verb, while the number of takes a singular verb. This is a very crucial or a very vital detail. A number of takes a plural verb, and the number of takes a singular verb. When you see an expression that says a number of, it means several and takes plural. When you see a sentence that uses the number of, it refers to a specific total and not many. A specific total or a specific quantity, and then that makes it singular. So look at this. A number of students are going on the trip. So a number of students can just be described as many students are going on the trip. But if we said the number of students, it's the same as saying 60 students, because the number of refers to a specific quantity. So 60 students in a class. Okay, I think I'm wrong here. We can't just say 60. But yeah, according to the rule, when you have a specific total or quantity, then it's a singular verb. That's the rule. Note this distinction is often tested in grammar exams because both phrases begin with number, but their meanings differ. So a number of students is absent, wrong. It is a number of students are absent because a number of means many. Always have that at the back of your mind. A number of means many, the number of means specific. Now, rule 8. Singular verb forms are used for units of measurement, money, or time. We all know this. We probably just don't know it as a rule, but we all use this in our expressions. When referring to measurements, amounts, or quantities that represent a single unit, the verb is singular even if the number seems plural. For instance, 5 gallons of oil was required. It's not where. Why? Because this is indicating measurement. 5 gallons of oil was required to get the engine running. 10,000 naira is a large sum of money. See, so you see, was. 3 hours is not enough. You can't say are not enough.
You can say 10,000 naira are a large sum. That would be wrong. So it is whenever you have measurement of a specific or of a single unit. All right. Now, when you have gallons, naira, or hours that seem to appear as plural, it is still treated as singular. So don't think 5 gallons of oil has to be where. No, it is still measurement. So as long as it is measurement, it is still singular. Now, if you remember, we said there are exceptions to the indefinite pronoun rule. Let's talk about it now. When determiners such as few, many, several, both, all, or some are used with countable noun, the verb is plural. As long as you can count the nouns, then the verb is plural when it is accompanied by any of these. For instance, some men are needed for the battle. Why? Why is it are? Because the some here is accompanied by a countable noun, men. You can count men, can't you? Few students understand this topic completely. Assuming it was not a countable noun, this should have been understands, because that would be singular verb. But because it is few students, which is plural, then the verb has to be plural as well. Next, we have many people have applied for the position. Many people, many being the determiner, and people being the noun, which is plural and countable. So many people have suggests plurality. Now, next, when these same determiners, few, many, several, both, all, or some, refer to an uncountable noun, the verb is singular. Why is it singular? Because it's referring to an uncountable noun. For instance, some milk is spoiled. All the information is accurate. Much of the rice is eaten. You can't say are eaten because you cannot count rice. You cannot count information. You cannot count milk. So it is a singular verb. Is. Okay? Uncountable nouns represent singular ideas or masses. So even if the quantifier looks plural, the subject remains singular. Alright? Rule 11. Subjects and verbs must agree in number. This is the foundation of subject-verb agreement. We've said this before. This was rule 1, isn't it? Number 12, or rule 12. Subordinate clauses between the subject and the verb do not affect agreement. There are times when you read a sentence and then you see a subordinate clause. They're usually separated with 2 commas, one here, one before, and one after. Now, when you see a sentence like this, the subordinate clause does not affect the verb. Look at this one. The dog who is chewing on my jeans is usually very good. You see, the subject agrees with the verb. The dog is usually very good. Do not let the subordinate clause distract you. Look at this. My students who come from different regions work hard. So it is my students work hard. Look at this one. Even if this dependent clause is not separated with 2 commas, do not still be distracted. No, it's not every case that the commas are there. This is what you refer to as essential and non-essential clauses. When it is separated by 2 commas, then it is non-essential. But when it is separated, but when it is not separated, it is essential. That means this is vital to the sentence, so you can't remove it. So the man who lives next door owns a large farm. It is still the man owns a large farm. The verb has to agree with the subject in spite of the subordinate clause there. Okay? So the clause does not change the verb form. Look at this. The dog who is chewing on my jeans are naughty. This is wrong because are does not agree with the dog. It is the dog who is chewing on my jeans is naughty. Now, rule 13 is very common in the SAT test, so please pay attention. In fact, not just the SAT test, even when we write, some people make mistakes when dealing with prepositional phrases. Now, when there is a prepositional phrase between the subject and the verb, the agreement does not change. The agreement still has to exist between the subject and the verb. The prepositional phrase does not influence the verb subject-verb agreement. So, you may see prepositions like of the students in the room. Now, just to be sure you understand, a prepositional phrase consists of a preposition plus a noun or noun phrase. So when you have a preposition and a noun or noun phrase together, it's a prepositional phrase. For instance, we have in the room. In is a preposition, the room is a noun phrase. With the books. With is a preposition, the books is a noun phrase. Of the students. Of is a preposition, the students is a noun phrase. So when you have a prepositional phrase separating the subject from the verb, it does not affect the verb. It is the subject that still affects the verb. Look at this example. The colors of the rainbow are beautiful. The fact that you have of the rainbow here does not affect the verb are. Because if you think it affects it, this will become is, because rainbow is one, isn't it? But what is being talked about are the colors. The colors are beautiful. Of the rainbow there is just there to provide extra detail. It's not there to affect the verb. We have the leader of the teams was present at the ceremony. Even if you see teams here, don't think this becomes where. No, it doesn't become where. It is the leader was present at the ceremony. When you have a prepositional phrase, it does not affect the verb. It is the subject that affects the verb. The sound of the drums is loud. Is, because it is one sound. Alright? So look at this. In the colors of the rainbow are beautiful, the main subject is colors, not rainbow. So it is the main subject that determines the verb, not the object of the prepositional phrase. The noun or noun phrase is the object of the prepositional phrase. The preposition is the head word for that phrase. Right? So the object of the prepositional phrase cannot be the subject of the sentence. Alright, let's proceed. Rule 14. When a sentence begins with there or here, the subject comes after the verb. When a sentence begins with there or here, the subject comes after the verb. Look at this. There is a problem with the balance sheet. So what is the subject here? Problem. There is what? A problem. If it was problems, it would have been there are. So in this case, the subject comes after the verb. So what determines the verb comes after it when you have a sentence that begins with there or here. Look at this. Here are the papers you requested. Are because it is papers. The papers. Plural. Next one. There are many reasons to visit Lagos. Why is it are? Because it's many reasons. So when you have there or here beginning a sentence, the subject usually comes after the verb. All right. Look at this common error. There is many reasons to complain. That's wrong because um, we said many reasons, which means plural. Then that means the verb has to be plural. There are many reasons to complain. All right. Rule 15. In questions, the subject may come after the verb, so identify it correctly before choosing the verb from. The subject may come after the verb. And this is because in questions, the subject and the verb are often inverted. Usually the auxiliary verb, like are or can or is. So when you have a question, the subject usually comes after the verb. Look at this. Where are the pieces of this puzzle? So in this case, it is plural are because we say pieces of this puzzle. The pieces of this puzzle. So the subject there is the pieces. Is your brother coming to the party? It is because the subject came after the verb, your brother. Is who coming to the party? If it was more than one brother, it would have been are your brothers coming to the party? Look at the next one. Do the students understand the instructions? Do the students understand the instructions? It is students and do. If it was one student, it would have been does the student understand the instructions? Right? Look at it here. Does the students? This is wrong because it is plural, so it cannot be does. It is do the students understand the instructions? It can only be does when this is without an X. Right? So, rule 16. When two subjects are joined by and, they typically require a plural verb. Okay, I think we've seen this before. The cow and the pig are jumping over the moon. All right. Let's see. Looks like we're almost done. Okay, look at rule 20. When quantifiers such as some, half, none, more, or all are followed by prepositional phrases, the object of the preposition determines the verb. If you remember the last time we said the prepositional phrase does not influence the verb, that is because it comes between the subject and the verb. But in a case when you have the prepositional phrase being preceded by a qualifier and not a subject, it is the object of that preposition that now determines the verb. So don't mix it up. If the prepositional phrase was preceded by a subject, it is that subject that would have influenced the verb. But when the prepositional phrase is preceded by a qualifier, it is the object of the prepositional phrase that determines the verb. Look at this example. All of the chicken is gone. What made it is the object of the preposition, which is chicken. Of being the prepositional phrase is of the chicken, of being the preposition, the chicken being the object. So don't think it is all that determines the verb. No, all is just a qualifier. So it is all of the chicken is gone. If it was chickens, it would be are. All of the chickens are gone. Same thing with half of the cake is finished. It is cake, so it is is. If it was cakes, I guess it would be are. Half of the apples are rotten. Apples, plural, are. Um, I think we've seen this before when both subjects joined by or nor, or either or neither nor are plural, the verb must also be plural. All right. We've done this before. We've seen this before. We've seen this before. 26. If two infinitives are joined, okay, this is new. If two infinitives are joined by and, they take a plural verb. An infinitive is a verb that is preceded by the preposition to. When you have to before a verb, it is called a to infinitive, or just call it an infinitive. So when you have two infinitives joined by and, they take a plural verb. So, for instance, to walk and to chew gum require great skill. So it is require because the infinitives are joined by a coordinating conjunction and. To read and to write are essential skills for success. Plural. They are treated as plural because of the coordinating conjunction here. Alright? To learn and to grow take time and patience. To learn and to grow are separate activities that are joined by the coordinating conjunction, therefore are treated as plural. Next, when gerunds are used as subjects, they take singular verbs, but if joined by and, they take plural verbs. A gerund is simply an ing verb that functions as a noun. For instance, swimming is a progressive verb, but when it is used as a noun, it becomes a gerund. For instance, swimming in the ocean and playing drums are my hobbies. So in this case, we have swimming in the ocean, which is one subject, playing drums, another subject. Both of them are joined by and, so it is are. But if you have standing in the water, this is also a gerund. Standing in the water was a bad idea. This is a gerund. We have we have H as the head word, and in the water Q. The prepositional phrase here is the qualifier. So standing in the water was a bad idea. It is treated as singular because it is one thing. So I can just replace it with it was a bad idea. I can replace this entire nominal phrase with it. Standing in the water was a bad idea. It was a bad idea. But look at this one. Swimming in the ocean and playing drums are my hobbies. So I can just say they are my hobbies because we're referring to two different activities. They are my hobbies. Walking briskly is good for your health. Walking briskly is good for your health. So something is good for your health. So you can just say it is good for your health. So it aligns, it must agree with the verb is, or must agree with the verb. So you can have a sentence like swimming and playing football is fun. That's wrong because swimming and playing football are separate activities, which means they have to be considered as plural. Rule 28. A collective noun can take either a singular or plural verb depending on meaning and context. Because I've had people ask, okay, how do we know when to use singular or plural? How do we know when to use singular or plural for collective nouns? So this is an explanation you should hold on to. Now, collective nouns such as team, jury, family, audience, staff, group, herd, all of these may be singular or plural depending on whether the group is acting as a single unit or as individuals. When the group is acting as a single unit, then it is as a singular verb. When each member of the group is acting as individuals, then plural. For instance, look at this. The team is winning the match. The team is playing the match together as a unit, so it is. Now the team are arguing among themselves. When the individuals are acting individually, then it is are. Do you get the difference? The committee has reached a unanimous decision. So they all together reached a unanimous decision. So it is has, singular. Assuming the committee disagreed, it will mean that different individuals in the committee had different opinions. So it will be have. The committee have disagreed on the proposal. Okay? Also, we have another rule, Rule 29. Titles of books, movies, and other creative works are treated as singular. It doesn't matter what the title is. As long as it's a title, it is singular. For instance, we have The Burbs, is a movie starring Tom Hanks. The fact that it says verbs, which is plural, does not mean it is a plural verb. As long as it's a title, it's singular. Great Expectations is a classical novel by Charles Dickens, a title, so it has to be singular. The Chronicles of Narnia is a beloved fantasy series. So whenever it is, because the reason it is singular is because that title is referring to one thing, isn't it? So it cannot be plural. It cannot be plural. So you don't want to say the Chronicles of Narnia are interesting. You don't want to say the Chronicles of Narnia are interesting. The Chronicles of Narnia is interesting. So in conclusion, only the subject affects the verb. This is the most fundamental rule of subject-verb agreement. The verb must always agree with the main subject. Look at this. Jacob, who owns 16 houses. Who owns 16 houses does not matter. This is just a clause, a non-essential one. So it is Jacob is on his way to becoming a billionaire. The quality of the fruits depends on the weather. Why does it depends? Which is singular. It is because we're referring to one thing, one quality. It's not the prepositional phrase that will determine, not of the fruits. It is the quality depends on the weather. The bouquet of roses smells wonderful. Why is it smells? Because it is a collective noun and it's referring to one unit. They don't smell wonderfully separately. It is as a whole that they smell wonderful. So it is unit. It is smells singular. You don't want to say the bouquet of roses smell wonderful. No, it is wrong. Because it is one bouquet, right? So that's it for subject verb agreements. I tried my best to make the video a short one. I don't think we exceeded the 1 hour mark. I recommend watching the video again. I recommend practicing with the rules you've learned.